Hi, this is Tavi Greiner, Astronomy.fm's Vice President of Communications. If you enjoy our programming, please let us know with a donation to astronomy.fm/donate. We really do rely on your support, and it's true, every little bit counts.
AFM.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
The curtain of night is drawn back. The telescopes are trained. The domes
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Event Horizon here on Astronomy.fm radio. It is another Friday evening. This one is December the 20th.
Happy Solstice Eve, everyone.
The what?
Solstice Eve.
Solstice Eve?
Solstice on the 21st.
Sure. Salsa. All right, go ahead, Dick. Continue on.
Well, I was going to simply announcing the date, and I thought, well, I can't miss out the fact it's Solstice Eve. And of course, yes, actually, believe it or not, everybody, we are live. The chat room has got myself, Marty, Glenn, Evil Spock. Yes, Glenn, we will balance an egg. And the Black Projects was temporarily logged out. But, yeah. Just so that everybody knows, yes, I am in the US this week. So, guess what? It's a piece of cake for me to do this show, isn't it, really?
It is. So I should be awake.
Yeah, I'm actually awake. Well, I guess I'm awake. I flew in yesterday with a total of about 56 hours of no sleep.
Ah, you'll sleep tonight.
I slept last night.
You slept last night too?
Yes, I had. I got my. When everybody talks about Musk's big freaking rocket, I got my big freaking glass.
Ah, okay.
Well, Glenn, I guess it's temporary.
I just saw a cartoon on something about a big coffee mug, but I can't remember what it was.
Oh, I've got a big coffee mug. It says father in Hangul, in Korean.
Well, let's go to NASA. Since the sun, nothing's happening on the sun except the Parker probe continues to bring back some interesting data, but no sunspots on the sun. There was one a few days ago, but it disappeared real quick too. So the big news is on the Boeing
Starliner.
Yeah.
What's a minor? What's the best way to say this? Somebody got their sums wrong.
Could be that. So what happened was it was supposed to be an orbital flight. The rocket was what was that rocket?
Atlas.
An Atlas V rocket to send the was it Starliner capsule up, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
To the ISS. Never got there.
To the ISS, yeah. Okay, so the Atlas part, the lower portion rocket, that did its job. It got it up there, and then something happened once it was in orbit. It didn't actually get to a high enough orbit. Do you remember why, Nick, that was?
Yes. Basically, the Starliner's timers were off. The capsule thought engines were firing, and they weren't. Basically, and of course it then got itself into a low Earth orbit, and they kind of wasted way too much fuel. The excuse why they didn't actually just take control of it was they were between satellite links. Now, I wasn't there, so I can't say, but I know certain comments were made by the head of Boeing, which we won't go into, and the person that they were made about is probably laughing, and was laughing heartily, given what actually happened. But of course, the current NASA philosophy is, well, we may eventually have SLS. We'll have Iran eventually. But for now, hey, let's pay people like Boeing, SpaceX, Blue Yonder, and we'll buy seats.
There you go.
to the ISS. Well, I can understand the philosophy. They reckon it's probably cheaper than buying seats from the Russians, and the Russians probably thought it was hilarious as well.
Mm-hmm.
There was a complete and utter. That's about all I will say for that in descriptions.
Well, so it was a test, and they learned something from it. So next time, hopefully it'll be all right. So the idea was to get this capsule into orbit and then hook up with the International Space Station.
I believe so. Okay.
Yeah,
So
well,
I'm just replying to a comment.
it was supposed to go to the space station. That was a test. Spend some time there, like 8 days or so, and then come back down and land on the Earth like it would if it had real passengers in it. Well, they did have a artificial passenger in there.
Yes.
So unfortunately,
a riveter's Rosie the Riveter's bandana on it.
So it did get there, and they're going to bring it back down pretty soon. Another couple days, they'll bring it back down. So didn't get what they want, but getting closer. So that kind of counts for something too.
Yeah. Of course, Steve Bezos is still in the equation with Wild Blue Yonder. So and he has got his test coming up, and of course everybody picked on Musk because they blew up the Starhopper.
Yeah, well, that was kind of on purpose.
Yeah.
Doing pressure testing. Who did the other pressure test where the whole rocket basically blew up because they overpressured it with air, and it just ripped itself apart. Ripped a big like squeezing a pop can too hard. So that was again a pressure test that was overpressurization to see where its limits were. So those are kind of normal tests there for rocket systems. Yeah, I think that Starliner's going to come back down on Sunday in the White Sands, New Mexico region.
Yeah, which will be interesting because traditionally NASA astronauts have not liked the idea of a dry landing. Wally Schirra was definitely against it, but then again he had other reasons. He didn't like the Block 1 seats for the Apollo Command Module capsule. And of course, they're supposed to be fitting the second series in. And of course, the contractor couldn't do it, which put a lot of pressure on I think it was Apollo 8, maybe. It was definitely the first man launch because Wally Schirra had that one. That was to be his swan song. To be honest, I understand his attitude. Those original block seats were not designed or considered apt to a crash landing on solid ground. The big thing was if they had to use the escape tower to rip the capsule off the top of the Saturn rocket. There's a 1B, I believe, they tested. And the wind could have blown them onto land instead of out to sea, which is what the actual plan was, to have a splashdown, not a thump. But the big concern was that the Block 1 seats were not going to protect the astronauts sufficiently if it happened that way.
Blue Origin capsules now have little small boosters on the bottom of them, so they're going to hit dry, but then they'll get the little braking or cushioning thrusters on it to make it land softly on land.
I think the thing with some of the designs, they were designed to actually have an engine component which would actually help brake the capsule.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's going to be at least 3 parachutes, but the main thing was, of course, the idea was basically to have an assisted landing. That's probably the best way to describe it. But having said that, those who decided to do a very destructive test probably got reams and reams of data they could use, which they could use as to say, well, this is what it's going to take to actually tear the capsule to bits.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas setting your timers wrong and actually having the bad manners to slag off the opposition at the same time. I guess what happened was hubris, karma.
Well, we'll just happen. We'll just wait and see what happens, and maybe everybody will get their act together. But they'll get their act together. They just won't get it together at the same time, though. So we'll see who's next with the most successful launch to the space station, and then it'll be crew time. Could be Dragon capsule. Who knows? So,
Well,
Orion.
Orion's coming up. It's still behind schedule. SLS is way behind schedule. I guess everybody knows who's building SLS. They just can't build the components and stockpile them as quickly as they're supposed to. If you think about it, for Apollo, they had three rocket kits already to be used one after another. In fact, the way it was done, having the extra rocket kit, allows you to have the feasibility to launch another rocket for a rescue mission. And of course, that was something that the contractors on the Saturns did. They were told at any one time, we want 3 complete rocket kits available to us, which was why Apollo could have missions so quickly after one another. It wasn't just a case of we'll build one for this mission, and when that one's in use, we'll try and build another one. It doesn't work that way. You've got to have stock, and I think this is where SpaceX is good, because they have boosters and stages they can use almost on demand. It certainly will allow them to use their capsule in a rescue configuration unmanned. The fact that they can probably put a rocket set together so quick to rescue stranded astronauts. Hi, Quiet in the Woods. Nice to see you with us. Yes, we are live tonight. But as I say, it's just one of those things. SpaceX's MOS is that we are able to do X number of launches a year, and we build refurb in bulk in order to cut cost. That's a big difference. And the fact that they started small and worked up to Falcon X Heavy and the big freaking rocket was the whole point. They had probably 3 or 4 regular Falcon X available. Falcon Heavy will no doubt have the same availability. So yes, SpaceX can turn around, launch an unmanned capsule, rendezvous with a damaged capsule, transfer the astronauts through EVA, and they can do it. NASA had the ability to put a Saturn 1B on the launch pad during the Skylab years very, very quickly. In fact, what they did do, the actual rescue rocket, as it was tagged, they ripped out a lot of the actual hold capability, which they used on the Apollo missions for space rocks and stuff, moon rocks and stuff, and they could fit extra couches in very, very quickly. So instead of having 3 people flying, you could probably get away with one or 2, and be able to pick up the 3 astronauts who are the current Skylab crew and bring them back to Earth very, very quickly. That is part of the design that went into Orion. It is 5 crew instead of a 3 crew. By the way, if you're wondering what's going on in the background, Starstorm is on a online party and they're doing Christmas carols, so that's what you can probably hear in the background.
Okay.
But anyway, as I say, the whole point of Orion was it evolved from Apollo, Soyuz, and Skylab, because they realized that when you're going to the middle of the solar system, you can't really use a 3-man crew anymore. With everything that you're doing, particularly if you're going to use this also for any future Mars mission, you need more crew. Going from the Earth to the Moon with 3 guys is brilliant. You have 2 guys on the landing part of the mission. You have 1 guy who stays in orbit, looking after everything else, doing his scientific research at the same time. That works. So going to Mars, you need extra bods, because you're going to have whoever's going to stay behind. You may potentially have 3 or 4 people going down to the surface, or even 2 people staying behind and 2 or 3 going to the surface. But with Orion, you can do that, because the block configuration is a 5-person crew. Apollo was 3 people because it was definitely easier just to send 2 guys down to the moon in the LEM and have 1 guy in orbit who could do everything else. He could be the relay station. He could be doing observations, taking star shots, photographing potential future landing sites, and that is what happened. The command module pilot, whilst the other 2 guys were away, he was actually taking very accurate and very good photographs of different areas as he orbited to plan for future manned missions to the moon. So basically, looking forward, going to Mars, you may have a 5-man crew. 3 go down, 2 stay up, which means that there's other things that can be done. Or you could even have just 2 guys go down and 3 guys there. Hang on 1 second. I will pass that on.
Or you could also have a 5-person capsule. You only send 2 to Mars. Maybe both go down, or 1 goes down and 1 stays in orbit. That's an option too. So if you got a bigger capsule, obviously you can you have more space for supplies that's really needed too. So that would be an option. So just because you have a 5-person capsule doesn't mean you need to load up all the seats with crew.
That's true. Of course, for other things, for missions to the asteroid belt, another destination looked at for Orion. Again, you can do it a 1, 2, 3-man mission, and use the other 2 places as being extra storage, either for scientific for samples or for food and water for the crew.
Yep. I'm sure what they'll try to do is, just like everybody's linking to the International Space Station, that seems to be a standard. You'll also be able to link, I'm sure they'll build like a mini space station to go to Mars, where you'll have several rockets go up, and they'll link everything together. So instead of just a capsule and command module for your supplies and stuff like that, I'm sure they'll be linking several of them together, and basically have a miniature space station going to Mars. Seems like that would be a little bit better way to go than just trying to do it with a bare minimum crew and supplies. So.
Well, as I say, one of the favored options, Zubin had it in his Mars mission idea. Everything is sent ahead. It's all there waiting. The SpaceX vision is a version of the big freaking rocket where it's just full of supplies. No humans. It's full of fuel. It's full of everything that's needed.
So 2 ways of doing that. You could either send all of your supplies ahead into Mars orbit, or you can just put it up into Earth orbit, then put it all together, and then launch it to Mars. So a couple different ways of doing it. I'm sure they'll work out the logistics of what would be more fuel efficient to do it that way.
But
one way of sending all of your supplies ahead of time and getting it established in orbit is that you've actually succeeded in getting your supplies established in orbit around Mars. So then you send your crew out knowing that your supplies are safe and waiting for you. So that's an option too. So just depending on how they want to play it. So,
yeah.
Or both, actually. I would do both. A little bit of redundancy. Send some supplies ahead of time, make sure they get there, and then, of course, have plenty of supplies with you where you're heading there. So a little bit of redundancy of, successfully having stuff waiting for you. Unlike, who was it? Shackleton?
Yeah. But basically, in those days, Marty, that they either used dogs or they used horses.
That's right.
Ponies. Mm-hmm. Because the idea was they could consume, if they ran out of supplies, they could always consume the draft animals.
Yes. Which were bigger and slower and clumsier in the deep snow. So that didn't work out too well, where the dogs were used to treading across the surface of the snow. So that actually turned into a better system.
But as I say, it's really a case of somebody finally deciding how they're going to do something. Excuse me for 1 second.
Okay. So let's move on. Let's go to OSIRIS-REx mission to the asteroid Bennu.
Oh, yes, they finally decided on a landing site, haven't they?
They did find a landing site, yeah. They had 4 choices, which were called Sandpiper, Osprey, Kingfisher, and Nightingale. 4 potentially, well, because this thing is so rocky and lumpy that they actually had to pick this largest area with the smoothest bottom to it. So they decided on Nightingale would be the one that they would actually send OSIRIS-REx to, make contact with the section of Bennu, blast some air at it, pick up some samples, and back off and head back home. So I think they picked the site, but they're actually not going to make contact until around August, next coming August. So we got about 7-8 months, 8-9 months, something like that, before they'll actually grab some stuff, and then it'll be another couple of years, I think, before they be able to bring it all the way back to the Earth. So let's hope it goes well. The thing spins, so there's obviously some options that they have to consider. If it's spinning, they'll have to match the spin if that's possible, and make contact at just the right amount of pressure, not too much. Too little is like okay, but they actually have to get there all the way. Can't end up short. Too much pressure, you could damage that collection arm and not be able to actually grab anything that way. Just smash it and maybe even break off an end. So that's not good too. So it's going to be a tricky, delicate maneuver, all by computer controlled. So, but they picked a spot, and hopefully we'll be getting some samples from that thing. I won't say pretty soon, but successfully, I should say.
And let us not forget, on this day in 1996, we lost Carl Sagan as well.
Okay.
Yeah, these are the things that people remember. Mm-hmm. I want to thank BP for that one, because he reminded me of it.
Yep. We don't have Carl Sagan anymore, but we have us.
Yeah. Now, of interest to most astronomers, there's been an interesting situation arisen with Betelgeuse.
Yes, indeed. But is it a rumor, or has it been documented?
It's documented, actually, because what it is, Betelgeuse is a red giant. It's a distinctive part of the constellation of Orion the Hunter. Now, while familiar to almost all casual observers in the night sky, not many people know that Betelgeuse is a variable star. It only has small fluctuations in brightness, not visible to the casual observer. Typically, it's between 0.3 to 1.0 stellar magnitudes. Obviously, the smaller numbers are brighter than larger numbers. So anyway, let me just quickly put something in here. Betelgeuse has faded.
Yes,
And of course, a lot of people are wondering, okay, what's going on? Is this a precursor to it going supernova? So there's a couple of links that were sent my way. Did I just give you the right link? Hang on a second.
So
Yep.
the risk is with like this sort of kind of a rumor. Everybody go out, look at Betelgeuse and see if it looks dimmer. Well, if you tell people that ahead of time, they're going to say, yeah, it looks dimmer. But it could be just your local sky conditions that make it look like that, too. So you'd have to have been doing some purposeful observing of Betelgeuse and comparing it to other stars, like variable star observers do. And then note it if it changes after time, and even better if you're doing CCD photometry or real photometry to actually measure the different brightness levels of the star
Well,
itself.
okay, so basically, it's being compared to Aldebaran. And technically, at the moment, Aldebaran, which is a fainter star, is brighter than Betelgeuse. Now, where is the proof, you're saying? Well, it's in an astronomer's telegram. It is telegram number 13341, which originally came out on December the 8th at 3:57. Now, it was originally submitted by the authors and given the number of 1337. Unfortunately, there was a database error at ATEL, and it was subsequently overwritten, and another ATEL was assigned that number. So, of course, this one was unavailable for 23 hours. It's now reinstated as ATEL 13441. The submission timestamps have all been preserved, and the editors do regret the error and any inconvenience. So basically, this is the hard science of it. Okay. Now,
So this information is coming from where?
Sorry, what was that?
So where is this information coming from that it's definitely
This is
dimmer?
from E.F. Guinan, R.J. Wessatonic, Villanova University, and T.J. Calderwood of the AAVSO.
Okay.
So,
it's American Association of Variable Star Observers. Were you out there?
yeah, so basically V-band and wing TIO band and near-infrared photometry of the semi-regular variable red giant Betelgeuse, Alpha Orionis, magnitudes 1.5 to 2.5 IAB, has been carried out over the last 25 years. This photometry was joined by complementary B and V photometry from T.J. Calderwood of the AAVSO, and Betelgeuse and Antares are the two nearest red supergiant core collapse type 2 supernovae progenitors. So this is obviously a star that everybody's looking forward to going bang in a big way. So photometry from this season has actually showed that the star has been declining in brightness since October 2019. And it's now reached an all-time modern low of V, which equals 1 plus 1.12 mag, and that was on the 7th of December. And Betelgeuse, okay, it undergoes a complicated quasi-periodic brightness variations with the dominant period of from 420 plus or minus 15 days. But it also has a longer 5 to 6 year cycle and a shorter 100 to 180 days cycle. Obviously, there's smaller brightness changes. Currently, this is the faintest the star's been seen during the 25 years of continuous monitoring and 50 years of photoelectric V-band observations. The light variation is complicated, and it arises from pulsations as well as waxing and waning of large supergranules on the star's convective surface. So, the measurements of wing TIO band, which is 705 nanometers, and near-infrared colors indicate that currently Betelgeuse has a relatively strong I think that's titanium TiO, and bands, and it has a corresponding lower photospheric temperature of T, which is 3,580 Kelvin. Now, that's relative to the 3,660 kelvins near maximum brightness. So, typical variability is 0.2 to 0.3 mag. So this was obviously an opportune moment to secure photometry, spectroscopy, spectropolarimetry, and basically infrarometry and adaptive optics AO imaging. Yeah, Betelgeuse is frequently monitored, but during the 2019-2020 season with HST by Andrea Dupree as the leading part of the 2019-2020 CFA MOB program at Harvard. So
to sum it up, how much dimmer is it in magnitude?
It's quite a bit dimmer.
Quite a bit.
If they're saying Aldebaran is now brighter than Betelgeuse.
Okay, so how much has it dimmed down in magnitudes? Half a magnitude, tenth of a magnitude, hundredth of a magnitude? How much are they saying it's actually dimmed down?
I saw that. It's dropped. It's 1.12 mag.
Okay, so it's actually dropped a little more than 1 magnitude.
It's gone down, yeah. Okay. That's the way I understand it.
It's a little confusing because Betelgeuse is about 1.2 mag or something like that normally. So, or minus what? Or I don't know. What is the usual magnitude of Betelgeuse? Do you know? I'll check my stellarium just to be sure here. I'll click on it and let's see.
1.5 to 2.5.
This one says 0.45 magnitude.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. That's still in the plus zone. So
typically 0.2 to 0.
Halfway between 0 magnitude and first magnitude is what it is. And you're saying it's dropped down to.
Well, it's an all-time low of plus 1.12 mag.
Okay,
and that was on the 7th.
1.1. So that's about a half a magnitude dimmer then, approximately.
Well, that sounds about right because because if they're saying Aldebaran, comparatively speaking, is now brighter than Betelgeuse.
Okay, let's see what. I'll look on my thing here and see what Aldebaran is listed as its magnitude. Oops, wrong one. Get over here. All right. It's listed as 0.85. So Betelgeuse listed as about 0.3 of a magnitude brighter than Aldebaran was what it's normally listed as. So they're saying it's dropped about 0.3 of a magnitude or so.
Okay, they're saying that Aldebaran is the 14th brightest star in the night sky. It varies between magnitude 0.75 and 0.95.
Okay. So which puts it at an average about 0.85.
So if they're saying that Aldebaran is now brighter than Betelgeuse, that's quite means it's gone quite dim.
Okay. Yeah, by about 0.3 of a magnitude from what I see on this thing. So, okay, so we'll keep an eye on that. And yeah, the idea is that if a red giant starts dimming rapidly, that could mean that the interior is losing energy. The combining helium into heavier elements is starting to slow down. If that slows down rapidly, then the heat energy won't be able to keep the outer regions of Betelgeuse or any red giant out there, and the interior part of it will start collapsing. And when you get kind of a runaway collapse, things will all crunch down towards the center. The pressure will be extremely high, and strong potential of it going boom and blowing up as a supernova. So
Not
Yeah,
just any. It's type 2.
yeah. So we got to keep. It's really super rare in a lifetime to see that happening, but give it a shot, everybody. Start noticing Orion and Betelgeuse, and take some standard photographs of it. Camera on a tripod, and do those constellation shots. If you got some from way back when, see if you can kind of compare your photographs between, 20, 30 years ago for some of us, or more, 40 years ago. We usually took constellation photographs back then, if you're old enough, and see if you can find those old pictures and compare them, and see if you can definitely see a dimness in Betelgeuse, and keep watching it. So if it
good
dims
thing is-
more and more and more, that could be our whatever amateur astronomers wanted to see, a close by supernova. Keep your camera ready.
Oh, yeah.
And
It'll be a day, and I reckon that may even be visible in the daylight.
Yep. And you just never know. You might be the one that discovers it. If it rapidly brightens, you might be the first one to see it. Like there was some guy back in 1987 down in the southern hemisphere looked up at, I think it was the Large Magellanic Cloud, and noticed an extra bright star in that cloud. He was the first one to discover the supernova of 1987. So you get that potential chance because obviously position in the sky and weather that you might actually be able to see the supernova first and learn how to report it. Learn how to report it to other astronomers. If you want to get onto an astronomy forum or the AAVSO, you might need to figure out their forums, or the International Astronomical Union. They need to be notified in the proper way that it's gotten brighter. Just social media, stuff like that. If you've got a astronomy social media, get that word out there if you're the first one to see it, and especially document it. When you saw it, and that if you can pull those records back, email somebody that you saw it, what looks like it's really brightening. That will give you credit for
Now,
being able to see it.
Glenn asked a question in the chat room, what is the brightest star in the sky? It's Canis Major.
It's what?
The brightest star in the sky. Alpha Canis Major.
That is correct. Otherwise known as
Sirius.
Sirius. It's got an I in there. Sirius the dog star at magnitude. Okay, like we're comparing Betelgeuse and Aldebaran.
Minus 1.46.
Yep. So that's a minus 1.5. And Betelgeuse is the other end plus 1.5. So Sirius is about 2 magnitudes brighter than Betelgeuse. Give an idea.
No, Glenn, we would not be in danger. We would not be in danger from Betelgeuse going into a Type 2 supernova.
Nope.
If anything, it actually, the chances are it would be visible during daytime as well.
Yes, possibly, depending on when it goes and if Betelgeuse is even up in the daytime. Let me use my stellarium here. Click on the date and time. And let's see, back up. If I back up time to sunrise, sunset. And at sunset, Betelgeuse is not above the horizon. So let me scroll all the way around to sunrise and see if Betelgeuse is still above the horizon. And it looks like it's not above the horizon. So it must be somewhere around opposition. Or, I mean, not opposition. What's it? When it's opposite the sun.
But if it's not above the horizon for us in the north,
so it looks like Betelgeuse is not even out during the daytime for us.
For us, no. But if you're down under, mate.
I could try that. Let me change my location and see if that makes a difference. But I don't think so. But we'll find out here. All right.
Yeah,
New location. Sirius. All right,
I'd put in something like Adelaide or
up the time. Let me see if I can make it set. So Betelgeuse is set as the Mars is rising. As the sun is rising, and we'll go back just the opposite as the sun is setting. No, it's pretty much in the opposite side part of the sky from the sun itself. So it doesn't matter what hemisphere you happen to be in. We can't physically see Betelgeuse in the daytime because it's only out at nighttime. The rest of the time it's on the other side of the Earth. So.
I would say, Glenn, the most observed star in the sky would be our sun.
There you go. Can't help that. Especially in the northern hemisphere, because we're like almost right there for the December solstice. And I noticed that driving south around noontime, the sun is in my eyes. That sun means it's really low. It's below my visor. One interesting effect I've seen on some roads when it's like this at noontime, kind of unusual, is the asphalt actually looks shiny. So it looks kind of white because of the low sun angle bouncing off the asphalt, especially when there's a hill, an upward hill going in front of you. It cuts that angle even more. So the sunlight shines right on the asphalt at a slant, and it bounces right into my car window. And sometimes it looks like the asphalt road, which is basically black. It looks like it's either snow-covered or salt-covered, but basically looks kind of white from the reflection. It's kind of an unusual effect. I should bring my camera the next time I travel out, if it's clear, get a picture of what some roads I really notice that look like they're just white instead of black asphalt because of that low sun angle.
But as I say, Betelgeuse will certainly be very spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody keeps saying, "Oh, we want a very close one." That may be the closest we get. Mm-hmm. Because if it was something like maybe Alpha Centauri, or Barnard Star, that's a little bit too close. Wait.
Oh, we've been blabbing right on past our halfway point, which is about 10 minutes ago. So let's do a little station identification. You're listening to the Event Horizon here on astronomy.fm radio. That means it is another Friday night. This one is December the 20th, 2019. Halfway is about 9:30 in the evening for Eastern Standard Time. Universal Time, that will put us right around 2:30 in the morning, December the 21st, 2019. So, well, we skipped a little bit. So we got about 20 minutes left in our show.
Yep.
Of live program. Then we repeat this, and we got more programming coming up, so you want to stick around, listen to other programs, and we repeat these programs for the next 4 hours. 4 blocks every 24 hours. We'll repeat this. Now, if I get it right, now I can say, let me do this again. We're going to repeat it every 4 hours for the next 24 hours. Now I got it right.
That's right, Marty. You got there.
It's that solstice thing. This will be our last live presentation for the year 2019. We'll have some regular programming, and then between the holidays, we have basically just play music, get everybody, our radio directors a break, so they'll load up like 2 weeks of just general music. I don't know if they do holiday music or whatever, but so we'll be back after the new year. I don't know if we'll be back on the 1st or not. I wouldn't guarantee it. So it might be maybe the first Friday on the 3rd. Maybe we'll have to talk to our radio director and see when we'll do our next live show for the new year. So we'll find out.
Glenn asked a question in the chat room.
Oh, good.
He asked, what is the biggest observed star? Well, I have a couple of answers for that. VY Canis Majoris. It's a red hypergiant star in Canis Major. It's with a size of 2,600 solar radii.
Makes Betelgeuse look small.
Yep, it's located about 4,900 light years from Earth.
Pretty close, actually.
Another one that came up, which I've heard about, is UY Scuti.
Okay, it sounds familiar too.
Yeah, and again, it's another hypergiant with a radius of about 1,700 times the Sun.
Mm-hmm. And then ones that are in other galaxies and stuff like that, hard to say.
Yeah.
There's also the potential of, I think, Rho Ophiuchus. We're not really sure how big that star is because it's heavily into a big gas cloud. They're not even sure if it's one star or two stars. So if it's one star, that could be the biggest, but it's obscured by gas clouds. Don't really know for sure. So that's why that one doesn't count.
Well, as I say, I'll put the links so if you want to have a look at, read up about it. I'll put something into the chat room.
Go right ahead.
Just doing that now. There's the link there, and let me just save that link. And we'll quickly go back, and I will. Just 1 second.
Go ahead. I've got a couple things real quick here. Alert notice from the American Association of Variable Star Observers. I'll put this into our chat room also. There's going to be an eclipse of B, not Beta, but B Persei in January 2020. It's actually a triple star system. Together, they're fairly bright, about 4.5 magnitude, and there's 3 stars going around each other, and they happen to have their orbit almost lined up with the Earth, not quite, but almost, so that they do have stars passing in front of other stars. So there's 2 primary stars, and then there's a farther out third star. And I think it's a farther out third star that's actually going to be eclipsing or going in front of, let's see, let me get this right. During the upcoming predicted primary eclipse or transit of the third star across the system. Okay, so I think the 2 main stars are going to go in front of the third star. So I'll put that into our chat room if you want to start observing. They are always looking for amateur observations, photometry especially, and spectroscopy of the system. The more data they collect, the more accurate it is, and they can figure out what exactly these 2 stars are. All right, so here we go. Put that into our chat room. There you go. American Association of Variable Star Observers, like we were talking about before.
Okay, thank you.
Couple, not a couple, but a coming up meteor shower. Just an okay one called the Ursa Major. So Northern Hemisphere observers, yeah, you're the primary ones to observe it. Sorry, Southern Hemisphere on this one. December 23rd, to the peak of the Earth, and this is from, let's see, it lists the comet that when this one's from. I don't think it does. So anyways, it should be it should be if I have my say so, but it can be kind of a decent meteor shower. They say you can get between 5 and 15 meters per hour, so not real fast, only 33 kilometers per second, so not real fast one, just kind of medium one. So another couple days, so you're gonna have to get out after
8P Tuttle.
What was that?
The progenitor of the Ursids is Comet 8P Tuttle.
Tuttle?
Tuttle, yeah.
Oh, okay. Tuttle sounds familiar. I think I've seen that one before.
Yeah.
And then since we will be back, but the Quadrantids will be coming up in January. Where is it around? What is that exactly? Maximum cruise January 4th. So that'll be right around the time we're starting to come back on live radio. So January 4th, look for the Quadrantids. Those come basically from around the constellation of Boötes. Give you an idea. So again,
well, the radiance just below the big below Ursa Major.
That's the Ursids.
No, this is the Quadrantids. I'm looking at Earth sky, and the map they've got up. It's just below, not the actual what they call the actual saucepan. It's the actual handle.
The radiant. Yeah,
radiant
it says
comes
it's
just below there.
It says it's northern Boötes, 4 degrees northeast of the 4th magnitude star Ocellus. Ocellus Primus, which is Theta Boötes.
Anyway,
yeah. See, we get out and look
it's-
for those too.
yeah.
I don't have my star chart popped up yet. There we go. Where's Boötes right now?
Well, the quadrantids can actually meet the rates of the August Perseids and the December Geminid showers. It's been known, I say known, to produce up to 50 to 100 or more meteors an hour in the dark sky. It's definitely one that favors the northern hemisphere because of the actual radiant. But they have a narrow peak. It's only a few hours, so if you miss it, you won't get to see many meteors.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I say, you've got to be out there. Basically, catch it just right. If you don't, forget it.
Yeah. So just north west Boötes is the handle of the Big Dipper. So somewhere around that region, off the handle of the Big Dipper, towards the top of Boötes.
Well, actually, it was named after the defunct 19th century constellation Quadrans Muralis.
Mm. Measuring device.
Well, that's why it's called the quadrantid shower.
Yep.
So you can locate the radiant in reference using Ursa Major and the bright star Arcturus. There you go.
Right. Water on Mars. So they're actually starting to map watery sites on the planet Mars and chart it, because that's going to be part of a decision about where to send future astronauts to the surface of Mars. So the idea is that if there's water ice that's been found for sure, detected within an inch or two of the surface of Mars, then nobody's going to have to really dig down into Mars to get some ice. They could basically just scrape away the topsoil a couple inches or so and collect the ice that way. Of course, once you've got ice, several different ways you can melt it with a little solar energy or nuclear energy. Melt it, and then you could also split the hydrogen and oxygen off. Then you've got rocket fuel, or you've got drinking water, and you've also got plenty of chemistry to do with water. So that would definitely be a good place to land where there's already existing water. In the form of ice on Mars. Open water can't exist on Mars. The air pressure is too low. As soon as you get open water on Mars, it basically evaporates. It doesn't even go from ice to water. It goes from ice and evaporates.
It subliminates.
Subliminates, that is correct. So they're starting to do some very serious mapping of Mars for ice that can be used for future manned missions. They've been testing the Mars 2020 rover, wheeling it around a little bit, so that's going to be happening pretty soon. What else we got going on? Some unusual magnetic activity that was predicted on the sun has been confirmed, something called magnetic reconnection, where those magnetic field lines, those big loops of gas you see on pictures of the sun, that gas is surrounding magnetic field lines, and they can break away, fall back down, and then if they catch other magnetic field lines, they can reconnect, and it basically sticking your finger in a light socket, you get a big spark, it goes zap, and that sends particles out away from the sun by magnetic reconnection is what it's called. So they've actually seen it with the STO solar spacecraft. Can do our chat room too. A little bit of further reading. Something unusual back around the 10th, a little bit more than a week ago, happened on the far side of the sun. I don't know if it was magnetic reconnection or not. This thing happened, and then a few days later, this article came out, but I can't tell if they're associated or not. Something blew off the back of the sun. I'm sorry I don't have the picture of it because I can't find it in the NASA archives, but NASA puts out way the atmosphere of the sun moves away from the sun in little 4-day segments. So right around the 10th, they show this segment. They put in a little GIF movie, and you could actually see something that looked like a smoke ring blowing off the far side of the sun. That was really kind of strange. And to do that, it must have been a very, very energetic event. Now, that region hasn't gone around to us yet, so might be within a week or so. That far side of the sun region where that blew off should be facing towards the Earth. And if it hasn't faded out too much, maybe we can get a look at it. There was a little active region just around the far side of the sun that rotated towards us. It still shows up in the SOHO images as a active region, and it did have a small sunspot several days ago, but that has faded away. So a little bit of activity, but we have already beat the record for the most spotless days in a year since recorded spots.
No, Glenn, it's not vaping. It's all actually down to Howard the Duck. He's behind the sun having a crafty cigar, mate.
He's having a what?
Crafty cigar.
Cigar?
The
Oh, there you go. Sun smoking a cigar. That'd burn up pretty fast, though.
So we have to ask a question: How fast would a Havana cigar
There you go.
burn?
I'll keep checking and see if I can pull out archives, but the archives start like a couple of weeks ago or something like that. So I gotta wait for maybe enough in advanced time that images will get back into archive, and then I'll pull it. So funny thing, if you go to some of the images on SOHO website, and then put them like on a website, like on our astronomy.fm website. On our own website, it will keep updating the images. I can't lock in a picture from there unless I do like a screenshot of it and then post it onto our Facebook page. But if you just do a link directly to the stuff on SOHO, it updates it on the link to Everyday. Kind of frustrating. Ran into that a couple times. Well, 3-ish minutes. What else is going on?
3 minutes. Wow.
Yeah, fast show tonight. So, all kinds of stuff. What do we got going for the New Year's? Oh, another thing, just for a real quick one. It's right around January the 6th. The Earth will actually be at its closest point to the Earth. Isn't that a little bit unusual? The Northern Hemisphere people are kind of like, what do you mean closest to the sun in January? That's one of the coldest times of the year. Yep. The coldness is not related to the distance to the sun. We're about 3 million miles closer to the sun than we are in June and July. So figure that one out.
Marty, the message is, no, it's not 2 minutes. Ignore it. Ignore the 2-minute warning.
I know. I've got my own clock going here, so we should be fine. We got about 2 minutes now.
I reckon it's 02:53.
Oh, you got what?
02:53.
02:53 what?
UT, Universal Time.
It's 9:58. According to my clock. So am I off? Are you off?
Could be. Anything's possible.
We could talk for a couple of minutes at what time it is. Which I go. Yeah, I did check it. Let's see. Where do I check the time at? The official NIST, which I don't know what that actually means.
National Time Standard.
It's www.time.gov, which is the one that I actually go off of too.
It is
my
actually
computer clock with that. So, yes, we're down to the 1 minute mark now. So
29:51 and 5 seconds.
There you go. Time to wrap it up, everybody. Really appreciate everybody listening in for the entire year, especially our regular listeners and participants, all of you around there, like those of you that are in chat room right now. Don't forget to check out Beetlejuice. Look for some meteor showers. Beetlejuice. There you go. Get a little bit more accurate with it. Yeah. We'll be back again next year, of course. And appreciate all you listeners out there. Send money. Never hurts. It's Christmas time.
Well, Chief Engineer Rob and Transporter Room. It's time to beam the away team up. Me and myself and Marty are ready, and we'll see you next year, everyone. Sayonara.
Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate all of you supporting us. Good night, all.
We hope that you've enjoyed this program from AFM Radio, the broadcast service of Astronomy.fm. This program has been released under Creative Commons license. Please contact us for details. You may find more of our AFM original programs on our website. It's really easy to find us. We are Astronomy.fm. You may also find us in the iTunes radio listings near the top of the News Talk section, and also as an iTunes podcast selection. We'd love to hear your comments. Please email us at radio@astronomy.fm. Thanks so much for being part of the voice of astronomy around the world and across the known universe. This is Astronomy.fm Radio.
Hi, this is Tavi Greiner, Astronomy.fm's Vice President of Communications. If you enjoy our programming, please let us know with a donation to astronomy.fm/donate. We really do rely on your support, and it's true, every little bit counts.
AFM. There I was, doing my thing. And all of a sudden, wham! Astronomy right between the eyes.